All right, guys, welcome in. It's Brad with College SportsCast. And John and I are here today to do our Week 7 weekend wrap up show.
We executed.
I heard a fan offer free Dippin' Dots if I blew it.
Wanted to have some fun, execute.
I had bombs.
So stay as a team, execute, give 100%.
Dippin' Dots sound good.
All right, guys, welcome in. John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, just making sure, man. All the mic issues I've had lately, just making sure. All right, so Brad with College Sportscast, and we are finished with Week 7 in college football. Seems like it's speeding by. We're about halfway through the season now at Week 7, and John, it's going pretty fast, right? Seems like.
Yes, it didn't even realize it was Week 7. That was Didn't realize that was the.
That's about the
week that we were
halfway
on.
point.
But
Week
yeah,
7
yeah.
is.
Yep. Because obviously everybody's got 12 games that they play, and then one.
But
off
then there's a
week,
bye.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a bye week, so yeah, that's about halfway through the season at Week 7. So there's some playoff pictures and stuff like that we'll kind of get to. That's kind of coming to light. I think you're kind of getting a clearer picture of what that's going to look like probably down the road. But let's start out with the best games of the week. What did you think were some of the best games of the week?
Well, best games in terms of total outcome, or best games in terms of like
just entertaining to watch, or
Well, the Oregon game was probably the best one.
Right.
And then I was covering the Sanford Furman game during the Alabama game, but we kept turning around in the press box and going, "What is going on over there?"
Well, Bama jumped out ahead and then had to hold on. So
right, that's what we saw. We saw that it was Bama up 24-3 or 24-6 or whatever it was early in the game, and then all of a sudden, we look back around and it's 24-21.
Right.
What?
Yeah. I think that was kind of the theme of Week 7 is some teams that went out ahead and then just quit and got blown out in the second half.
The top four teams this week, and I'm looking at. Okay, there we go. So I'm looking at the AP top 25 that just got released.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a sec. Yeah.
So the top 4 teams didn't really have any issues. They were pretty much straightforward.
But they really didn't play a whole lot of competition either
they
this
didn't.
week.
They did not play any competition, but they went out and they took care of business. Top 4. Then you look at 5, 6, and 7. 6, Oklahoma, I don't think played this week. I think they were off. So
they were on a bye week.
Washington played. They had a really tough game. Penn State, I think, blew out the team that they were playing.
They were playing.
They played UMass. They played UMass.
Yeah, UMass. Yes.
Texas was off. Oregon, the number 9 team got beat by the number 5 team.
Right.
By 3. So, if you're looking at the next 5 right there, 2 played each other, 2 were off, and 1 blew out a team that they should have blown out.
Right.
And then you get into 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and that's North Carolina. I thought
North Carolina looked pretty good.
Yeah, they
in this-
beat
in this
beat
game.
Miami. Miami, still doing Miami things, and Alabama stayed where they were. They, started out, taking care of business, and then all of a sudden was not really sure what was going on.
Right.
Um,
Well,
and then
dig into the new AP poll.
yeah, let's do that.
Georgia lost a few number one votes, but still stayed number one. They had 50 last week. They have 43 this week at number one. Michigan picked up some first place votes. They had 16. They're number two. Ohio State is 3 with 1 first place vote, and Florida State is 4 with 1 first place vote. That's your top 4. Number 5 is Washington, moved up after beating Oregon in Washington this week, 36-33. They won 37-34, I think, last year at Oregon. So the last 2 times these 2 teams have played have been barn burner, really great games, and Washington's come out on top twice by 3 points. Oklahoma, interesting, coming off of a big win last week against Texas, had moved up to 5. They had a bye week, and Washington jumps them this week, and they go down a spot to 6 in the bye week.
The even more interesting thing is what happened to Texas in a couple spots later.
Yeah. Penn State also slid down a spot, even though they kicked the crap out of UMass 63-0. They slid down to 7. So that is your top 7 undefeated teams, okay? There's a couple of other undefeated here, but that's your top 7 undefeated teams. Then you got Texas at 8. Texas in a bye week, who had lost, moved up a spot.
That was interesting.
Yeah. Texas, who didn't play, who was in a bye week. Oklahoma, who won the game, dropped a spot. And Texas, who lost the game, moved up a spot.
Yeah, they just flipped Texas and Oregon, and so that was
Yeah.
that's what it looked like. So
Oregon goes to 9. They dropped only 1 spot after that loss, which is, I have no problem with that at all.
yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. UNC moves in front of Alabama at 10, and they're still undefeated. They already had their bye week, so they're 6-0. They're still undefeated and moved up 2 spots in front of Alabama at 10. Alabama's still 11. Oregon State moved up 3 spots after their big win, UCLA, this week. They had another really nice 36-24 win over UCLA, and they are 6-1 at their number 12. Ole Miss is 13, 5-1. Utah's 5-1. They're 14, moved up 2 spots. Notre Dame moved up 6 spots after their big win at home against USC. That's another game that I thought.
They put up 48 against USC, but more importantly, they held USC to 20. That's the part that. And
Caleb Williams had 3 picks, and made USC really not look good on offense. We all knew their defense was kind of suspect.
We knew that they were trash. Let's just call it like we see it. They were trash.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that their offense didn't look better than what it did. With USC. Duke had a nice win at home against NC State, 24-3, and they are still 5-1, moved up a spot at 16. Tennessee moved up 2 spots after their win against A&M, and they're 17. USC fell 8 spots after their loss. They're 6-1 to 18. LSU moved up 3 spots to 19 after beating Auburn. We can talk about that for a second here if you want or not.
Sure, that's fine.
LSU, we don't have to because I'm going to get to mine in a minute anyway. So, but LSU beats Auburn, I think by 30.
By a lot.
Was it 48-18 or something like that?
48-18. There you go.
Yeah. I think that was the score. Missouri, like I said, fixing to get to mine in a minute. Missouri comes in at number 20. They demolish Kentucky after the first quarter. Kentucky jumps out to a 14-0 lead and then just basically quits. And I don't really understand what the hell they did last night. I mean, really, I don't. They got beat 38-7 in the last three quarters and was up 14. Jumped out, looked like they were going to play some ball, and then they had a fake punt. The punter passes 39-yard touchdown pass, and after that, it just broke their back. Kentucky had a wide open receiver down the field, and they drop it. And I mean, it's uncalled for. I mean, it's hard to explain, really. But anyway, give Missouri credit. They scored 38 points. And beat Kentucky last night in Lexington. They're 6-1. Louisville, who's coming off a big win over Notre Dame, goes to 1-4 Pitt. And Pitt outscores them 24-0 in the second half.
Yeah.
And they get beat 38-21. Actually, it was the identical score that Kentucky got beat, that Missouri beat. But they get beat 38-21, got outscored 24-0 at Pitt. And fell 7 spots to 21. Air Force, first time in the poll this year, they are still undefeated. They come in at 22. Tulane comes in this week at 23, 5-1. Iowa got a really nice win at Wisconsin, 15-6. Ran the ball really, really well and controlled their defense, and they were a 10-point underdog in this game. They are 6-1 and now control their own destiny in the opposite division of the Big Ten, from Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State.
It's the one that you can easily just win. All you got to do is just beat one team or something like that, and you ought to be able to.
Well, Wisconsin and Iowa were the two teams that were right there at the top, and now they have the win against them. So I think they have the advantage.
What I said. The one team. Yeah. You just had one team to beat. That was Wisconsin.
Yeah. And somehow UCLA stays in the poll. They did move down 7 spots, but they are coming off of a loss to Oregon State. They are 4-2, and they are the 25th team in the AP poll. Any surprises that you see there, John?
Not really. I mean, the biggest movers were the ones that would look like they were the most fraudulent, and once they got beat, the AP voters decided it was a good time to go ahead and knock them all the way down. We do have some others receiving votes. You got James Madison, Clemson, Florida, Washington State, Fresno State, Liberty, Kentucky, Wyoming, Kansas, West
Kentucky
Virginia.
Doesn't deserve votes. I'm just being honest.
Oklahoma State and Miami also doesn't deserve any votes, but whatever.
I'm just saying. I'm being straight up honest with you. I
tried to tell you this like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, after the last 2 weeks, no. Florida did have a nice win. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
When we do the full scoreboard.
Yeah.
Clemson had a bye week, I believe. They were off.
They did.
So
they did.
Yeah, so they didn't play. Washington State drops out. Kentucky drops out. Kansas drops out. And there was one more that dropped out. I think there was 4 of the AP
out.
poll. Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking to see if there was any of those, some of those others that were seeing
Trying to
votes.
think who else would it have been. Was it Miami?
Was Miami down there in the top 25?
I think they were 25th. Yeah.
I mean, it's either them or West Virginia or Oklahoma State.
I think it was Miami because I think Miami was 25th in the poll last week. So that's your 4 teams that dropped out. The ones that moved in were Iowa, Tulane, Air Force, and Missouri. Those are your 4 teams that moved into the AP poll.
Right.
This week. Looking at this with the AP poll, I'm going to be honest with you. That's the top 20 teams. I mean, I think they absolutely have the top 20 teams correct.
Yeah, and I mean, it really doesn't matter who's down there on the bottom 5. I really don't care whether they are or
The
not.
bottom 5 can move around, and you can put people in and out or whatever. It really doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
agree.
it'll matter more next year when you have a 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
But this year, I mean, with it being still the 4-team playoff, I mean, honestly,
The top 20 are the only ones that's really got any kind of outside chance. You know what I mean?
yeah, and even then, I mean, like, okay, Notre Dame's still got a chance. Duke's got a chance. I mean, Tennessee's got one. See, really doesn't. LSU is where it kind of starts because LSU's got 2 losses right now.
Right. Yeah. They do.
And I mean, they trying to think of their path because they've got
Missouri
to win. They need to win the West.
Missouri still, has their own destiny because their loss was a West team, and they got one. So then they still have Georgia to play. So
they still have to play Georgia. I mean, like technically, yes, everybody that's in the top 25 has a pathway to the playoff. Everybody, every one of them
does because one of their losses is outside of the SEC. And if they could win out and beat Bama, then they at least get the SEC championship game.
Right. But I mean, like I said, everybody has a path.
Right.
Now, how realistic is that path?
Well, right.
I mean, honestly, like realistically, do you believe that number 13 Ole Miss is going to be a playoff team? Realistically.
They still have a shot, but do I really think that? I mean, Judkins is going to have to run all over everybody.
They're going to have to play defense too. So.
I'm just saying, Judkins is going to have to run all over everybody. I don't know if you caught some of it, but I mean, he's a hell of a runner.
Well, yes, he is. But again,
and just like
they would have
Kentucky
to play, have to play defense, and they gotta go beat Bama.
Kentucky yesterday,
they didn't. They lost to Bama.
Ray Davis has 100 yards in the first quarter, just a little bit after the first quarter. Has 13 carries, has 100 yards. Looks like he's lighting it up. They literally gave him the ball. They just quit going to him. They gave him the ball 7 times after that, and he wound up with like 128 yards.
Yeah.
But why? I don't I don't understand it. Like, how do you do that? You're up 14-0. Your running back has 13 carries with it was like 95 yards or something. It was nearly 100 yards.
Yep. Well, I mean, look, we can have all the complaints about our own teams because, I mean, if you really think about it, Auburn has a drive. It's going really well. Robbie Ashford's quarterback, it's got this drive going, and then the moment that they swapped out to put Peyton Thorne in, the drive died. Now, Auburn's down 14 at this point, 13. They're down 13 at this point. I think it's 20-7 when this drive happens, and part of it was a 52-yard pass that Robbie Ashford had, and he was the one that was leading the drive, and it just seemed like every time that they inserted Thorne, drive killed. So, I mean, you could say the same thing. Why would you keep inserting Thorne?
I had been telling you that I thought Robbie Ashford was going to be key for this Auburn team.
Well, he is key. Did not believe you on that. It was just
I just know a lot of Auburn fans was looking to replace Robbie Ashford, and they wasn't happy with him and everything else. And I think he's one of the athletes that's on this team. He's got to be out there. I mean, honestly.
Correct.
He has to be out there. And I know they went out and they got Peyton Thorne, but I just don't think that he is enough that you bench one of your best, if not the best, athlete that you have on the offensive end. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. All right, guys. This is going to be a message from Howie Fresh. He is got a advertisement here, and I'm gonna let you guys see this.
And I just want to shout out our newest partner, W Energy Drinks. You know, energy drink, you get the powder, you mix it up at home, but it's better than any of that coffee, any of that energy drink you get. There's no crash, no jitters, no angst. They have a patented neural factor. That's the star of the show. They got brain food. I'm talking taurine, tyrosine, glutamine, more. They only have the best amino acids. Only the best brain benefiting vitamins. I'm talking B3, B12, vitamin C, much more. I'm also talking 150 milligrams of caffeine, so just like your energy, it gives you that kick. There's no sugar, no maltodextrin, no fake colors, no dyes, no fillers, no BS. You can go to w.gg, make sure you use the code REALFRESH, 2 words, code REALFRESH, get 10% off for your order and support the show. Or if you'd rather just copy paste the link from the description.
All right, guys, that was Howie Fresh with a message from Dubby. We all of us, we live a busy life, and almost all of us are looking for a way to boost energy sometimes. They have a great natural energy drink. Check them out. Use the code REALFRESH. All right, we're going to get to our college football scoreboard. The week actually started on Tuesday night. And, John, I'm going to ask you, when did they start having games on Tuesday nights?
Several years ago, because it was because we're in the process of going through 48 days of college or of football.
Yeah, we are,
days
but
of football on TV.
I did not know that there were games played on Tuesday night. I knew Thursday, and I knew that there was a conference that done a little bit of Wednesday nights. There was usually like one or two games.
It was Maction.
Yeah, Maction. Okay,
but
when did Tuesday start?
Like I said, it's been a few years because I've known about that where we've had this little stretch that we're going through where it's about a month and a half of where there is football every day.
Yeah, there is.
A month and a half.
Yeah.
It's on TV.
All the way
whether
till
college,
November the 22nd, I think.
Or professional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
All right. So the week started on Tuesday this past week. MTSU beat La Tech 31-23. Liberty beat Jacksonville State 31-13. Coastal Carolina beat Appalachian State 27-24 on Tuesday. Wednesday was UTEP 27, FIU 14, New Mexico State 27, and Sam Houston 13. Then on Thursday, there was a wild game and a wild finish between Houston and West Virginia. I don't know if you guys caught this game or not, but West Virginia scored with like 20 seconds to go or something and was ahead in this game. And they were celebrating because they thought they had won the game. They get a celebration penalty, and then they have to kick off from the 20 instead of the 35, and they get it. They get the ball like around the 50-yard line, hit one play and kick a field goal and beat West Virginia 41-39. It was an absolute crazy ending. SMU beat East Carolina 31-10 on Thursday night. And then Friday, we have Tulane over Memphis 31-21. Fresno State beat Utah State 37-32. And there was another wild game on Friday night that went into 2 overtimes, and somehow Stanford scored 46 points, which I think is more than they had scored the entire season so far. Somehow.
Yeah, so
I think.
Colorado went up with
Colorado.
29. 29-0 at half. We're up
Yes.
29-0 at half. Stanford in the second half scores 26, and then Colorado scores a touchdown in the fourth quarter to have the same score. And then in overtime, there were 10 points 10 points scored in overtime by Stanford, and it was 7 by Colorado. So the first overtime, they both scored a touchdown. The second overtime, Colorado fails to score. Stanford kicks the winning field goal.
It was a wild game. I don't know. I thought I seen where it's the largest deficit overcome in the Pac-12.
But 29 is a lot. So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think.
Yeah. So that was on Friday night. And then, John, I'll let you run through starting on Saturday.
All right. Saturday, Georgia beat Vanderbilt 37-20. Basically allowed Vanderbilt to score 13 in the fourth quarter, make it look like it was a lot closer than it really was, but really 37-20. Michigan thumps Indiana 52-7. Ohio State takes care of Purdue 41-7. Florida State takes care of Syracuse 41-3. Penn State wallops UMass 63-0. And then you had the really good game between number 7 Washington, number 8 Oregon, and that was 36-33 Washington. Notre Dame beat USC 48-20, as we had talked about previously. Alabama had their scare of 24-21. North Carolina beats Miami 41-31. Pitt beat Louisville 38-21. Doing what Pitt does, beats a team that they're not supposed to. They do it
and outscored them 24-0 in the second half.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Again, things that Pitt does well, beats a team they're not supposed to every year. The next game here, one of the later games, 36-24 was Oregon State over UCLA. Utah beat Cal 34-14. Let's see. We had Duke over NC State 24-3. Tennessee beats Texas A&M 20-13. Washington State takes care of Arizona. Or no, sorry, misread that. Arizona beats Washington State.
That was a surprising score.
That is a surprising score. Arizona scored at least 10 points every quarter.
And that was in Washington State, which is usually a very tough place to play. And I'll give Arizona is a good team. I don't think they're a great team.
Correct.
And Washington had been playing well, or Washington State had been playing well, and somehow the Cougars just laid an absolute egg.
And I think it was after the Oregon State game, man. They got beat twice by Oregon State. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
yes, Washington State, especially when they're good or when they're a decent team, they're playing at home. It gets really hard to come out with a victory in that one. But Arizona went in and absolutely thumped them. LSU destroyed Auburn 48-18. There's not really any other way to say it. Oklahoma State beat Kansas 39-32. Missouri beat Kentucky 38-21. Rutgers beat Michigan State 27-24. It's about the only way that Rutgers is going to start getting a lot of Big Ten wins is playing teams that are in disarray. So,
hey, Rutgers has had a pretty good year so far, actually.
They're 5-2, 2-2 in the Big Ten. Yep.
Pretty decent.
Let's see. We got Iowa State 30-10 over Cincinnati. Now that's weird too. Cincinnati is 0-3 in the Big 12. We all kind of thought that they would have a better year than what they're doing.
But they started the first 2 or 3 weeks. They looked like they were going to do really well, and then all of a sudden the wheels have just fell completely off.
Right. North Texas, first AAC team beat Temple 45-14. We have James Madison still rolling at 41-13. Rank James Madison. That's what they need to do. Rank James Madison.
I think
Eastern
they're the
Michigan.
first one out.
Yeah, I think so too. Eastern Michigan beat Kent State 28-14. Navy beat Charlotte 14-0. These are some of these lower level FBS teams. Oh no, we'll finally make it to some more SEC schools here. Toledo over Ball State 13-6. Troy took care of Army 19-0.
Go Trojans.
Yeah, that's right. Illinois beat Maryland 27-24. Florida beat South Carolina 41-39.
That was a wild game.
Yeah, it was. It was. Then there was Virginia Tech 30-13 over Wake Forest.
That was an odd looking score. Virginia Tech is really not that good.
And Wake Forest.
It was at Virginia Tech, but Wake Forest was coming off of a 17-12 loss at Clemson versus Clemson. And I thought, the spread, Virginia Tech was favored by 1, the spread on this game. And I thought, man, that looks like a weird spread. And then they go out and beat them 30-13. I was like, okay.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
TCU took care of BYU 44-11. Let's see. Florida Atlantic beat South Florida 56-14. Man, these schools whipping up on South Florida makes that Alabama game look crazy. Just by the way. Let's see. Central Michigan beat Akron 17-10. Bowling Green over Buffalo 24-14. Miami of Ohio 34-21 over Western Michigan. Iowa beats Wisconsin 15-6. Northern Illinois over Ohio 23-13. UNLV beats Nevada 45-27. San Jose State 52-24 over Mexico. Kansas State beats Texas Tech 38-21. Georgia State beats Marshall 41-24. Texas State uses last-second heroics from T.J. Finley to beat La Monroe or UL Monroe 21-20. Wyoming or Air Force beats Wyoming 34-27.
That was a good game.
UTSA takes care of business against UAB 41-20. Colorado State also had last-second heroics and came back against Boise State. Beats Boise State for the first time ever in program history, 31-30. Yep. And San Diego State goes to the Big Island and beats Hawaii 41-34. That is all the scores in FBS this week.
All right, that's a full football scoreboard rundown for the entire week of Week 7, guys. We appreciate you guys following along. Hopefully we hit your team, unless your team was having a bye week or something this week. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play one more little video from Howie Fresh. This is his The Real Fresh channel on YouTube.
Hey, I am Hal Fresh here to tell you about the Real Fresh channel. That's right, youtube.com/the Real Fresh channel. We are a network aiming to bringing you various content each and every day, different types of podcasts, different type of content. Anything from college SportsCast and fresh takes for some sports. We also got You Want to Do What? We got the Wrestling Corner. We got live stream. Just go over to youtube.com/the Real Fresh channel and hit us up today. Thank you for checking it out. Appreciate your time.
All right, guys. Again, that was Howie Fresh, friend of the show. Always on Sunday, we are featured on his channel on the Real Fresh channel. This show, our weekend wrap-up show, is always featured on his channel, and always try to advertise this show for Howie with his Dubby energy drink and his Real Fresh channel on YouTube. So y'all check him out. He's a great dude, great follow. He puts out his own content, and I think you guys will like him. Some of it's pretty funny stuff. He has a Tokes and Take show. He also does an NFL show and some pro stuff and some wrestling stuff. Check him out. He's a good dude. All right, John. I'm going to get to one that I wanted to get to. So for week 7, what was your good? Let's do a good, bad, and ugly.
All right. So week 7, the good was, let me pull this up here. How about Notre Dame's defense being the good here? Give me a second and I'll actually be able to pull up everything for you. But Notre Dame's defense was able to hold USC 20 points, keep the reigning Heisman Trophy, pick the reigning Heisman Trophy winner off 3 times, I believe. Yep, they had 3 interceptions against the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. Kept him to only 199 yards passing, so under 200 yards passing. He also had -8 yards rushing, so that all was through sacks, which they had. I'm trying to see where they actually had the sack total against him, but I believe it was 6 sacks against Caleb Williams. But all in all, what they did is that they held USC to mediocre status, which is not what they were as far as offense. Offense, they were really a high power offense.
Yeah, they've been elite.
It's really their defense that's been putting them on the border of losing a bunch of games, and
Right.
And Notre Dame's offense was able to hold, Notre Dame's defense was able to hold the reigning Heisman Trophy winner to under 200 yards passing, and for the UC to only rush for 103 yards. So that is the good for me.
That's your good. Mine's Washington and Michael Penix Jr. I think he had 4 TDs in the game against Oregon. He is leading the country in yards, passing yards. He may be leading the country now in passing TDs. I haven't looked at the current stats after week 7. But he is definitely, in my book, after the win against Bo Nix and Oregon this past week, I think he and what you just talked about with Notre Dame holding Caleb Williams like they did, I think Michael Penix Jr. is now the front runner for the Heisman as of right now.
I think so too.
As of right now.
And I think the game that he had, and look, he threw for over 300 yards against the Oregon defense. He threw 4 touchdowns, had 1 interception, but looked really good against Oregon. Michael Penix Jr. is it's going to be one of the top picks in the draft this year.
Absolutely.
So,
the kid is fantastic, and like I said, as of right now, after week 7, Michael Penix Jr. is the clear front runner, even over the reigning winner for the Heisman.
Correct.
I think.
Correct. Yep.
All right. So what's your bad from week 7?
Oh God, there's a lot.
There is. That's why I want to know. Just, you don't have to pick like 7. Just pick one, whatever. But what's your bad for week 7?
Well, the question is who do I want to have as the bad versus what do I want to have as the ugly?
Right. And that's yeah.
Right. So I think I'm gonna save. All right. Well, how about this? Let's just go with the bad is Auburn. All right, because the ugly is going to be something else. I think I've got something for the ugly.
Okay.
The bad is Auburn. Auburn had less than, I believe, less than 300 yards of total offense against a bad LSU defense.
LSU
The
defense.
LSU defense ranks in the hundreds of 133 FBS schools. They're in the hundreds because they're not good. And Auburn only mustered up 290 yards against them, with only one touch or 2 touchdowns. So that's bad. That's really bad.
Yeah. I agree with you.
However, they did break their streak of not being able to throw, not having a 100-yard passer against an FBS or a Power 5 opponent.
sure
That's what
this-
it is.
Are you sure this isn't the ugly?
Well, I was debating whether to have this one as the ugly, but I then got the idea of something else to be
Okay,
the
so
ugly.
I'm gonna play off of you, and my bad is definitely Kentucky.
Yeah,
starting out.
so
14,
I figured
Yeah,
we'll
my
use our
bad
own
is
teams.
definitely Kentucky. I mean, you start out 14-0 in the first quarter. You look like you came to play. The offense is looking great. Ray Davis has a passing touchdown, has 13 carries, almost 100 yards in the first quarter. The Kentucky has 151 yards as an offense in the first quarter, okay? And then the second quarter and the rest of the game happens, and they get beat 38-7 after the first quarter. They literally had just over 100 yards of offense for the entire rest of the game. And Ray Davis had 7 carries. And I just don't understand it. I don't know how you can go away from your identity like that in a game. And that is definitely the bad. I mean, Leary is 14-27, 120 yards, and Kentucky has 14 penalties for 122 yards. Did y'all hear me? More penalty yards than passing yards.
Ooh. Terrible.
122 penalty yards and 120 passing yards. So that's definitely my bad. So what is your ugly? What's the ugly for week 7?
All right. Well, the ugly is how Alabama beat Arkansas. Look, honestly, I can't explain it. The first half, or at least when I started looking at some of the stats that were on the GameCast for Alabama, it said Jalen Milroe had 219 yards passing, which was great. And then that stat stayed at 219 yards passing for like the entire second half. He ended with 238 yards. Means he threw for 19 more yards sometime, like I think during the second half. Threw for 19 yards for the duration of the second half, which is unbelievable for me to even think about. Milroe rushing negative 19 yards. A running quarterback, a quarterback that is as athletic as he is.
But they
rushed
have
for negative
kinda
19.
gone
I
away
know that
from
they
that the last couple of weeks, and he's been more of a pocket passer.
And at some point in time, you're gonna want to use him for his legs.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Probably wasn't a good idea at this one right here to use his legs. They didn't. They went away from him. So obviously the negative 19 yards rushing come from sacks. So which are I'm not completely agreeing that sacks should be added into the rushing stats.
I don't really think they should either. But
yeah, I mean the NFL doesn't use them, but
nope.
the college does. So that's kind of dumb to me.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't think sacks should be added into rushing stats. I mean, that goes against your running backs and your team, and you know what I mean. Like, I just don't understand how you can do that, really.
But anyway, yeah, when it's a rushing play that is not a true rushing play, I mean, because you don't know whether he's trying to run or not, right?
Right.
For the
And
most part, he's not.
when he just drops back and he's in the pocket and somebody comes up and slams it to the ground, I mean, that's clearly not a rush.
Right. Clearly.
I mean, yeah.
So,
You know?
but anyway, that the ugly is just what happened in the second half for Alabama. They only scored 3 points in the second half. Arkansas scored 15 in the second half, and Alabama's 3 came in the third quarter. And that was,
Oddly,
I believe, early in the
Arkansas's
third.
best 2 games have been against a 3-point loss at LSU and a 3-point loss at Alabama.
Right. So,
Go figure.
I really
don't know. So my ugly is I'm just going to be straight up honest with you guys. My ugly is Colorado and Deion Sanders and the Buffaloes, 29-0. And this Stanford team is terrible, guys. Like it is a really, really bad team. And they bring back Travis Hunter, and I know I didn't see all of it, so I didn't look at all the stats, but I know he did have 2 touchdown catches in this game at least. But he got hit several times and had to be walked off the field a couple of times, and they brought him back a week early because they had originally said that he was going to come back next week, and they brought him back a week early, and you bring Travis Hunter back against Stanford, up 29-0. He's got 2 touchdowns, and somehow or another you give up the lead and the win to this Stanford team and get beat 46-43 in double overtime. Can we please halt the presses with all this Deion Sanders stuff this year? This game right here ends it for me. I don't even care. If you look at Colorado's schedule the rest of the year, they're in trouble. I mean, they play this Arizona team that just beat Washington State at Washington State. They play Arizona State. And if you look at their schedule, I struggle. I mean, they may not even get to 6 wins now. Maybe. They're 4-3.
Here's what happened in this game. All right. And
ugly. I mean, it's just I can't even.
It's ugly. I've got the stats right here in front of me, and this is what's like insane. Okay, so the problem for Colorado is the exact same problem that USC has. Their offense is great. Their defense is terrible.
It's terrible.
Okay.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is. So what happened in this game is Ashton Daniels, the quarterback for Stanford, threw for 396 yards.
Unbelievable.
When's the last time that Stanford's had a quarterback that threw for 396 yards?
I mean, that's just unbelievable that they gave up.
You're probably thinking Andrew Luck, and you're probably right. I haven't gone and looked it up, but I'm just saying Andrew Luck. Yeah. But okay, so I mean, Stanford is known for running the ball and threw 396 yards on you. It is bad. Now, Shadur Sanders threw for 400 yards. Again, didn't think that Colorado's offense is the problem. The offense is not the problem. Shadur Sanders threw for 400 yards. He had 33 for 47 on passing, which means he's throwing, 60-something, 70-something% passing, completion rate, rate with 400 yards passing, 5 TDs, and 1 interception. Again, great day. Not the problem. The defense is the problem. When you allow for one receiver to have 13 receptions for 294 yards and 3 TDs, that seems like a problem.
You think?
That's bad.
294 yards of one receiver?
Yeah. So now look, Colorado had 2 receivers that together, their best 2 receivers actually did not even have that, and they had 20 receptions between them. So between Travis Hunter and Xavier Weaver, they had 20 receptions for 106.
I know Hunter had 2 TDs.
And yep, he did. He had 2 TDs, and so did Xavier Weaver. He also had 2 TDs, and Travis Hunter went for 140 yards and 13 receptions. Xavier went for 124 on 7 receptions. So those two combined did not even do 294 yards. They did have more touchdowns. They had 7 more receptions than Elite. I am Manor. I don't know the I'm not even
pronunciation.
gonna be able to begin to pronounce this. But I mean, the defense for Colorado is the part that is just absolutely horrible. And
that's why I wanted to pick them as my ugly. I mean, that's as ugly as you can get, if you ask me.
Correct. I mean, that's just, it's insane. I mean, even the rushing attack, they were still able to have 124 yards rushing against the Colorado defense.
And their defense is why I say when you look at their schedule, I'm not sure that they can find 2 more wins. I don't know.
Right. Because, I mean, I don't think that, when you go against the Oregons, and they've already gone against Oregon and they lost, they've still got to go against, I think, Washington, correct? They still got to play Washington.
They've played Oregon and USC. That's who they played, the top teams.
Right. And USC was able to come back and barely beat them.
Barely, yes.
Right. But
here, I'll real quick, I'm trying to get their schedule to come up and see. I know they play Arizona and Arizona State. That's 2 of their 5 games remaining.
Right. I've got the schedule right here. Next week is next week is a bye week. So they have a bye week this next week, and then in 2 weeks they play at UCLA. Then they've got Oregon State, Arizona, Washington State, Utah. So they don't play Washington in this season.
Okay.
So they avoid Washington, but they still have to play
Utah, Oregon State, and UCLA, who are all ranked.
They've got they're at UCLA, Oregon State, Arizona, at Washington State, at Utah. So they are going
Arizona's
to play
coming off of beating Washington State 44-6. Arizona, Arizona's a decent team and has a good offense, which doesn't bode well for a bad, terrible defense. Washington State has a good offense, which doesn't bode well for a terrible defense. So you tell me, can they find 2 more wins?
Utah's got a good defense, which is able to, may be able to, stifle the offense. So that's the other one. So and it just depends on what kind of an offense they throw up, at the end of the season. Like what do they have at the end of the season?
I think they're in trouble after this loss. Like they may not even get bowl eligible, really.
Yeah, and this was a game that they should have had. That would have been their 5th win, right?
Right. Yep. That would
have been their 5th win. That would have been their 5th win, and I think they could have found at least 1 win between the rest of the season.
Yeah,
to get bowl eligible, but now they've got to find. Now they've got to find 2, and Stanford should have been one that they should have beaten Stanford, and they did.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. All right, so college football playoff landscape. I was talking about it coming to life a little bit. You got your top 7 teams who are all still undefeated in the AP poll. I had mentioned them earlier. You got your top 7 with Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington, Penn State,
and Oklahoma.
Thank you. All right, in Oklahoma. I'm doing it off the top of my head.
So I'm looking at it right now.
That's your top 7 that are all still undefeated, that are all still there. Let's not forget Texas is still in the picture with their 1 loss. Oregon is still in the picture with their 1 loss. And then John, who do you think really has a serious shot to maybe make some noise to get in there?
So the biggest thing right now is So when you're looking at this playoff picture and you're looking at the top 25 right now as it stands, you've got Michigan and Ohio State 2 and 3, and they will play each other at the end of the year. Okay, to go to the Big Ten playoff, or you still got to factor in Penn State, who is also in there. So Penn State,
there's
Michigan,
3 teams,
and Ohio State. So there's three teams in the Big Ten East that are in the top 7. So those 3 teams will have to figure their way in. You may get 2 of those teams.
Round robin
play
play each other. So
you may get 2 of those teams that go into the top 4 or in the Final Four there, but they all still have to play each other. So there is a possibility that they could, essentially knock each other out, or that you can have one.
It's possible you could get 2. All 3 will not be there. One of those 3 will be gone. Correct.
I think that Oregon and Washington are destined to play each other again in the Pac-12 championship. I said this.
Yeah,
I said this. The last time that I was on the show with you, I had gone ahead and told you that it doesn't matter who wins because they're going to play each other again, and the winner.
Texas and Oklahoma, I feel like, are the same way.
Texas and Oklahoma are exactly the same. Yes, they will play each other again, and the winner of that one will be the one that gets in. Okay. Yeah. Then you've got I don't know which division that North Carolina is in, but North Carolina and Florida State are destined to have to play each other at some point.
I think they've done away with divisions in the ACC this year.
So then North Carolina and Florida State are going to have to play each other, whether it's in the regular season or in the championship game.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's where that's going. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm assuming that they're going to keep winning. That's kind of where I'm looking at. So they're all going to be playing each other, and what we had talked about in our top
Duke
6. Yeah, but I think with the quarterback being out, I think Duke, while they're still good, I don't think Duke is going to be able to last.
They have a really good defense. I will say that, even with the quarterback out.
Well, they are coached by a defensive coach.
Yep.
Mike Elko is definitely one of the top defensive coaches.
I don't know how long Riley Leonard is out. Have you heard how long he's out?
I don't know, but anyway, but anyway, so Elko being a defensive-minded coach, that defense is a pretty solid team. But so what we had discussed before is our top 6 teams going into the playoffs, and trying to get what would be
and I was trying to figure out look at the whole picture this time. Just look.
I know, but I was trying to figure out like what I had said in the past, but I pretty much said that what we were looking at was that you're going to have
Oregon and Washington.
Because I discounted USC. Saying they don't have a defense, they're not in the picture. I don't care.
Right.
And guess what? They finally, look, they've been exposed, during this last few weeks, but they finally lost. So they have the L in their, in their record right now, and they're going to have a couple more, I believe, because I still think that they're not done losing.
I don't either.
And so with this, you've got, I think that you're only going to get one Big 12 team that has a shot, and that's either Oklahoma or Texas.
So does Missouri or LSU have a shot in the SEC?
No.
A realistic shot is what I'm saying. I know that they have a path.
Because
I'm not
even if LSU beats Bama and goes and represents the West, they're going to lose to Georgia. And losing in the championship game against Georgia, they're out. They're done.
Right. That'd be a third loss.
Missouri is not getting past Georgia. So Georgia's going to the SEC championship with or without Brock Bowers. By the way, we haven't mentioned anything about Brock Bowers.
Yeah. Bowers got hurt this week. Yeah.
With or without Brock Bowers, Georgia is still going to make it to the SEC championship game. And it really just depends on the extent of Brock Bowers and what he is the rest of the season, as to probably how far they go, because that might be the thing that keeps them from winning the whole thing. That's about it.
Yeah.
But I do believe that what we had discussed before, we were talking about,
Does Oregon State have a shot?
They could pick off Oregon. I don't think they win the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that they win the Pac-12. Okay, and I don't think that they represent the Pac-12 and make it into the playoff. But I do think that they have a shot to pick Oregon off.
Right.
And maybe slide into Oregon's spot to be in the Pac-12 championship. But I just don't think. Yeah, but I just don't think they're going to be the team that represents the Pac-12 and ends up.
So we're looking at. I mean, honestly, we're sitting here talking about it, and after 7 weeks, which is about the halfway point of the season, we're looking at about maybe 12 teams that we think has a realistic shot.
Right. So I mean, right now you're looking at two teams from the Pac-12, 2 teams from the Big 12. That's 4 right now, right?
Right.
You're realistically looking at 1 team from the SEC. That's it. So
I think
that's 5.
Bama still has a shot at it.
Okay, sorry, 2. We'll say 2 teams from the SEC.
Yeah.
So that's 6 teams right there. There's 3 teams in the Big 12 or Big 10. Okay,
yes.
that have a shot. So that's
Yes.
we've now got the 9?
9.
And
That's
and
9.
then and then in the
ACC.
there's 2, right? I mean, you're really looking at Florida State, North Carolina. You could throw Duke in there.
Could throw Duke.
And I mean, yeah. So
yeah,
I mean that's 11. Yeah. So you're. I mean, there's an outside shot for somebody else. So yeah. That you're looking at about 12 teams.
About 12 teams. Yep. That's what I had was thinking as a realistic shot right now. There are some paths for a few outside of those 10 or 12 teams to get in there. They just have to come up with some really, really statement winning games in order for that to happen.
What we said was everybody in the top 25 still has a path in.
I mean, Tennessee still has a path if they can beat Alabama this week and, beat Georgia.
They'd have to beat Georgia and Alabama. But yeah.
Right. They still have a path. You know what I mean? So there's teams that still have a path. But
correct.
It's very unlikely that all of that comes together.
Right.
Right.
So.
All right. So going to move on, and this is how you can find us on WSBN TV.
Hey guys, it's Brad with College SportsCast, and we're presented by the Fanboys. We are now part of WSBN TV on Channel 30. It's World Sports Broadcasting Network, a streaming service TV, and we are excited to be on that. We want you guys to know how to find us. Go to Boxcast app, download the app. And once you do, you can find us on Apple TV, Roku TV, Fire Stick as well. So we cover college sports, of course. We talk about certain teams and hot topics and news. We do game day pick'ems, and we do week wrap-up shows as well as special guests. So we would love to have you tune in and watch our shows on Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. and Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys, that's how you can find us on WSBN TV. We're proud to be on WSBN TV. They have some new stuff coming down the pipeline. We're going to be even on more stuff, like you can find us on Xbox and a few other things. So look for that. But right now it is Fire Stick, Fire TV, Apple TV, and Roku TV. Just download the Boxcast app. All right. The last thing we're going to get to, John, is we're going to look ahead to week 8 real quick and kind of run through some of the top games. We're not going to sit here and go through all of them, but some of the top games for week 8 and just do a quick little rundown and a week ahead. And look, Kentucky is in a bye week, thank goodness. after the last 2 weeks, I won't have to worry about being humiliated, looking like an idiot for the next 2 weeks. So, week 8 is among us here, and there's some really big games. You have Penn State at Ohio State in week 8, which is going to be a monster of a game. Penn State is now 7, Ohio State is 3. This is one of those games where we said we had a 3-headed monster in the Big Ten. This is one that will kind of start sorting that out. You have Washington State at Oregon. You've got Tennessee 17 at Alabama, number 11. That's a big game in the SEC this week. Let's see. You got Duke and Florida State this week. So if they are without Riley Leonard, that's going to be an awfully tough matchup, and it's at Florida State. So that's going to be a tough one for them. You also have Utah at USC this week. That is going to be, with USC coming off of their loss, getting beat pretty badly by Notre Dame, and now having to face a really good Utah defense. That, we were just talking about Notre Dame's defense. Utah's got a really good defense. That's going to be a tough matchup for them. Arizona State travels to Washington. Arizona State is a team who is 1-5, but they have been in some games and can score some points. So it'll be interesting to see how Washington handles that. Any other games that you want to mention?
Not really. Look, there's Clemson and Miami. I think that one right there is just which team do you want to make fun of the most? Game right there with Clemson and Miami.
Clemson has a chance to get back into the top 25 with that win.
Right, but at the same time, it's just both teams are not what they once were, and it's kind of funny to look at that. You have the purple game between TCU and Kansas State in the Big 12. That one is more just it will be an entertaining game, but I think that is, one when you look at the colors that you got, everybody is predominantly wearing purple in that game. There was another one that I saw that was earlier.
Texas goes to Houston, so that could be.
They shouldn't have a problem with that one.
Right. Auburn and Ole Miss play each other next week.
Yeah, Ole Miss won't have a problem. Tulane and North Texas is actually going to be one that might be actually interesting.
Michigan State play each other, but Michigan State's in a mess.
Yeah, in the American Conference, Tulane and North Texas, that would be a good game. A side Eastern Division little foe here, the South Carolina at Missouri. That one wouldn't be probably won't be a bad one to watch.
Right.
And then I believe UAB and Memphis as conference opponents. This is something that hasn't happened in a long time. I think that goes back to, I think Memphis was in the CUSA for a little bit, but definitely when they were both in the Sun Belt. They were conference rivals. They were rivals. So now they're striking that rivalry back up. UAB, it'll be Memphis at UAB on Saturday at 11 a.m. ESPN2. That one is going to be something that would be kind of worth watching. And UCF and Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is going to win this one, but I think that this would be kind of an entertaining game at 11 a.m. ABC.
Yeah, and that one's at Oklahoma. That's another one. Texas goes to Houston. I think both teams should handle those games, but you never know. That's why they play the games. You never know.
The last
Penn
one
State,
is
Ohio
actually
State is going to be huge.
Yeah, the last one that I want to mention is one that will be played on Tuesday night, and that is Western Kentucky at Jacksonville State. I think that one
Go
would
Tops.
think that one will be one that will be worth
I'm,
watching.
I'm
'cause Jacksonville
literally
State
like 20
is-
minutes from Western Kentucky's university.
and
so.
I'm about 45 minutes to an hour from Jacksonville State.
Go
So-
Tops.
But Jacksonville State has done a lot more than what people have expected. They're 5-2 on the season, 3-1 on the year, or 3-1 in Conference USA. This is their first year in Division I football, so
Right.
they are doing a lot more than what people had expected
Hey,
out
James
of them. I think they
Madison,
were
isn't this just their second year in Division One?
something like that. But
think.
anyway, this one right here will be, another one of those games to watch to see if Jacksonville State can continue their meteoric rise, or if Western, who is a really good team, can put them out. So
They have a good offense. Western
Yes.
always has a very good offense.
yes.
Yeah.
So but anyway, yep.
All
that's-
right, guys. I appreciate you guys being with us and being on with us. Check us out. This has been our Week 7 weekend wrap-up show here at College Sportscast. Our next show is going to be Tuesday night on the 17th at 8 p.m. You can catch our College Sportscast, The Big Fuss Show. It will not be Week 7. I did not change that. That'll be for Week 8. Anyway, our Big Fuss Show, we do hot topics. We do some debate topics. I'm not sure if John here is going to be on with me. Sometimes he is. Sometimes he's not on Tuesday nights. But we will see. I know I've got the two Johns, so one of them or both of them will be on with us. And we always do like some latest news and latest hot topics. And then we always have a couple of segments, Pick Six segment and the No Fly Zone segment that we do. So we always have a little bit of fun and do a little debate show. So catch that. That is on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time this week for Week 8. All right, John, I appreciate you being on with me. I hope you had a good time and talking college football. Doesn't get much
Yep.
better than that, although I wish we both coming off of a win, but yeah, I wish as a fan, we were both coming off of a win, but we were both coming off losses this time. So I appreciate you guys being on with us. And like I said, check us out on Tuesday night for the Big Fuss Show. All right, guys. I appreciate you being with us for College Sportscast Weekend Wrap-Up Show, Week 7. Y'all have a good night.
All right. See ya.